Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the August Southern Fried DNN User Group meeting. It is, right? It is August.
That's crazy.
School has started back in our area. Business has picked back up again because people have realized the summer is over and they're starting to get back to normal work. Everyone's rushing to take a last vacation weekend or two, and we find ourselves ramping up with business, ramping up with things. And to that aim, we are thinking about ramping up with our own volunteer efforts, things that we can do inside of DNN sites, in the community website, in the forums, in the blogs, in Slack, in the community there, within the MVP community. Any place that I have some access, I'm being conscious about the idea that I could put in some extra energy and some effort and see what benefits come out of that, and I'm looking forward to it. And to that end, that's kind of what we're talking about tonight, is DNN Docs is one of the things that we've presented and talked about a couple of times before. And with the most recent changes so that you can make edits through your browser on the fly, I got very excited about the idea of having a working session. One where I bring to the table 3 or 4 ideas. We look to those in the chat rooms as well, and we say, okay, what ideas do you see missing inside of Docs? Let's spend some time right now. Let's do 40 minutes. Let's get it in there. I brought a few things on hand. Maybe they're good ideas, maybe they're bad ideas, but they're things that I've looked for in the past and have needed. And I glanced through, saw that I couldn't find them in the current docs, and thought, okay, we'll add these. These will be a thing we can do. So we'll go through, and we'll have myself, suggesting some content, and again, polling those online. David will be helping instruct and walk through the 1, 2, 3 ABCs of how to do it, and talking about what's happening in the back end. And we'll probably switch screens a little bit and kind of talk about that a little. Clint, I'm going to be leaning on you to tell me a little bit about format and where to put things. Where's the best place to put this? And if I'm going to have this conversation, what's an example of one that's similar that I could go trying to match? Because I'm very aware that, and maybe I'm diving in too deep right now, but I'm aware that many hands in the pie could mean that it could look like a circus, and everyone has a completely different look. So I want to ask about that, and that's one of the things I want to lean on you for their claim. So we're going to start off like we normally do, jumping into community things and talking about what's going on around us in DNN and in the community right now. And so we'll kind of start off by talking about our passion project here for several of us in Southern Fried is helping put on, present, run, and make a success out of DNN Summit. So we have DNN Summit 2020 coming up. I said it with some fanfare earlier, and I'll look to the camera and I'll say, where did you imagine you would be in the year 2020? Have you made plans yet? Have you started making New Year's plans? Guess what? They're already booked. You're done. You don't have the ability to have New Year's plans. They're already booked. Do you remember doing New Year's in the year 2000? That was a big deal. So, yeah?
Star Wars.
So I want to go in February to Orlando, to DNN Summit. I am taking half my crew, or all of my crew if they're interested in coming, and we are going to have some vacation time beforehand and some vacation time afterwards, and we are going to be spending time in Star Wars because it is opening in Orlando now. They've been extending the different things that are happening there. By the time we get there in February, it's going to be pretty fantastic.
Hollywood Studios.
Absolutely, absolutely. So where are you going to be February 2020? I think you should be with us here in Orlando at DNN Summit. So we have a few different things to talk about for that. Number one and most important is that registration is open. We need those tickets. We need to know how many people are coming. We need to plan food. We need to plan if we need to get extra venue space for the amount of people that are coming. We scale that up and down, and really here towards the end of the year, every year, people wait until December to register. And I would like to encourage anybody who's paying attention now, go ahead and register. You know you're going to go. We want you to go. You can always modify your tickets. You can always buy extra things later. just tell us you're coming. That alone makes a big difference so that we can get some plans made early instead of last minute based on the numbers that start rolling in. So registration is open. That is very important. Speakers is still open, and I'll pass it to you, Clint, to talk about that for just a minute because the request for speakers has been extended, right? And that's still open.
Yeah, so we got feedback that people said they didn't know about it. Email didn't go out when people anticipated. So, we just tried to do the right thing, which was extended a couple weeks. I think we did like maybe 3 more weeks or something. And everybody, I guess, should have received the email in their inbox today. Did y'all receive that?
I did.
So I think Cassidy sent that out, and it was just, announcing the conference, call for speakers, that kind of thing. So if you actually, let's see, if you scroll down that page a little bit and click on the call for speakers, it should go to Sessionize, and then you'll see what the end date is, which is, August 16th, which is, actually 2 days from now?
Oh, yeah. So we have till the end of the week here for us to put in sessions.
Yeah, and so that was extended. So, I'm pretty sure we got like a decent batch of speakers. There were some new faces. There were also some people that you thought would submit that didn't. And so we've been, bird dogging the regulars, right, and then welcoming the newcomers. So that's the call for speakers. And Mitchell Sellers is kind of helping head that up, and David's, working on it too.
Yep. All right. So we got call for speakers. We've got other announcements that are present on the website, including who we have as our opening session speaker. And we have information on the venue so that you can start buying tickets. That is to wrap up to say, get in there, get early, and make your plans and start thinking about what you want to do in the area. Again, the dates, if you haven't paid attention, the dates of the conference were moved slightly so that you really have a good block of a weekend beforehand and you have a good block of a weekend afterwards. So depending on when you come into town, you could do Florida, Disney World, Universal Studios and Harry Potter. You could do anything you want to do beforehand, or you could do it afterwards. Or like me, you could bring a group and just try and just do the whole thing together for one big solid week.
Split it up.
It's a little bit before, a little bit after. A little bit with the crew and Star Wars to begin with. Second time with just the family and a private group.
I will have, so we just got back from Disney, right?
Right.
We did all this stuff. One thing that I did different this year that I've never done before is went to water parks.
I've never been.
I wouldn't have gone if they weren't just included in the whole thing that we got. They were amazing water parks. Blizzard Beach is unbelievably good.
I went to SeaWorld, and the SeaWorld water park attractions, which have increased more lately, because as the animal acts have decreased over time, more of the water and lazy river things that you participate in have grown. And I actually had a fantastic time that I was not expecting me to be doing so much active. I thought I was going to be watching shows, and instead it was water-based roller coasters, lazy rivers, and animals and things. It was really wonderful, and it's one of the cheaper sets of tickets you can get into. So there's a lot to do. We did Universal Studios Harry Potter area, and it is worth doing at least one time.
I heard that was very good.
It's very expensive, but it's at least worth one time.
Really?
Yeah.
Ryan, that's all good and well, but don't let any of that distract you from delivering a top-notch lightsaber this year. Okay.
I could use the encouragement, so I'll tell you, just let me know, because it's not that I've gotten tired of making them. I'm still tooling around and making some things, but I haven't gotten inspired yet of what I'm going to do different this year, what I'm going to do to make this year's better than what I did last year, because last year's was the best one I've done so far. So I don't know. I normally start that sometime in October. So hit me with some ideas and keep encouraging me, and I'll come up with something.
Gotcha.
Okay, DNN Summit, we hope to make it a success, and we want everyone to participate. And call for speakers, 2 more days, get active. Again, like I did last meeting, I mentioned that we used to go to dnnsoftware.com and the community blog to look for all of our latest community information, where people were posting content. And if you haven't noticed, throughout the DNN websites, when you hit different community-related things, you get the prompt alert message that says, take me to the new community website. And that's because not only has that been launched several months back, it is a success, and there's a lot of stuff going on there. And when you hit the home page, you can see the rolling thread of activity of people doing things and being active. There are still things to be done in the community website, and if you are active in the DNN community and you want to do something more than just read content, you can answer questions. If you want to get involved more and take a section of the website and make that yours that you police and work on and improve, the community is definitely up for that. Will Stroll is the managing director of that, and Clint and David and all kinds of other folks have participated in it. But really, it's as simple as you logging in and saying, hey, I want to participate, and they'll not only get you active, they'll get you connected with Trello so that you can see the requests for things that are coming up and the roadmap for it. So there's a lot to do, and it's built by us for us to help us. So when I talk about being active in the community, this is prime location number one to get involved.
Thank you for the reminder. We need to remove the nomination for DNN MVP, don't we?
That's why I have this up. I was going to mention, I said, hey, so Clint, I noticed that it's still asking for nominations for MVPs, but I believe that that has already closed because voting is going on right now. Isn't that right?
That is correct. I put in a request with the web team a couple weeks ago that they've been busy.
Yeah, shut your face. So the amazing thing, and this will prove it to you guys, right, is if you give me
2 seconds, you're going to change
2 seconds, yes.
I would have deactivated it, but it's all too sexy, and I don't speak that, so break something.
All right, refresh your page.
Bingo! Woohoo! See, we're getting stuff done right now. Well, so I wanted to talk about MVPs
that
for
one
just
needs
a
to be
moment.
removed too. Thank you.
Well, on this one, it takes you to the page, and it says nominations have closed. So you're more safe there. That's not so bad. So I did want to spend just a brief second talking about MVPs. The MVP program is your ability to nominate people who have made a difference for you or for the community that you've perceived as being active and important in the DNN community and making a difference to some extent altruistically for the benefit of the community and the things of DNN to further training and help and modules and open source and support and content and fact finding, and there's nothing that you can do within the community that doesn't count. If you're being active and you're recognized, then voting goes through and you could find yourself being a DNN MVP. That program is an annual program, and what happens is we have a current list of MVPs, and you can see this long list of handsome gals and fellows that are here in the list, and those are basically the MVPs from 2018. And as that voting goes on, if the current MVPs don't vote with enough quantity, then you might find yourself falling out of being a current MVP, and you become then an honorary MVP, which is you're a past-time MVP for your contribution at one point in time. Or maybe you continue forward and you're a 2019 MVP as well. We also then elevate a few people each time to being a lifetime MVP, and that's for long-standing contribution to the platform and to the community. So right now where we are is those nominations have been brought in. The voting is being tallied. A couple of folks in the MVP group are doing that tallying and bringing that back so that we can then make announcements. So Clint, when around is the announcements and the changeover for things on the site?
Yeah, so we sent the votes out, or the voting ballots, if you will, and the votes, they've had a week to cast those, and the third party is tallying them. And I was told I would receive them today, so I'm expecting them tonight. And and then I will, have to create a blog, and I will work with the Too Sexy content people to get everything configured, and then, you know, we'll just move people around, add people, whatever we need to do, and I will announce it all in a blog.
All right.
So hopefully by the end of the week, worst case scenario, early next week.
Sure. That's fantastic. Well, so to any of the MVPs that are online or watching this recap afterwards, we did have our monthly MVP meeting here last week on the 8th. It is normally the second Thursday of every month because we normally do our Southern Fried here the third Thursday of every month. So that is the second Thursday of every month. During the summer, and while we had some transitions with the meeting space, we skipped a meeting or two, but we had our last one last Thursday. So the next one is September the 12th. That is our next MVP meeting, and we should have new MVPs joining us for that meeting. If you become an MVP, you are given access within the DNNcommunity.org site, the forum for MVPs, and the meeting information and call-in and everything is in that location. So we look forward to seeing a group of new faces and more folks to discuss DNN-related things. That's September the 12th. Okay. Anything else community-related that we want to talk about? Otherwise, I'll pass it to David, and we'll talk for a moment or two about DNN Connect and a personal view there. But we've got some releases. We've got some articles that have been posted, but it's kind of been a slow month. Anything else that we've missed that we need to talk about?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, a lot of stuff going on in the docs world, but we're going to talk about that later.
Absolutely. David, you went out to DNN Connect, and you came back in one piece.
I did, yeah, and I wish Will Stroh was on here. I mean, that guy just doesn't come to our meetups anymore, does he?
Yeah, sometimes.
We just got a ping.
No, that was Daniel. Daniel Valadas. Hi, Daniel.
Hey, Daniel. Yeah, and I'm just picking on you, Will, because let's say we were on another meeting the other day, and he was talking about his experience out there, and he climbed the mountain twice, you know, like scaled a mountain, you know, like did some...
Why twice? Because
it was so good the first time, and he just kind of ended up there again, because we had... what was great about this conference, besides the incredible content and the location and the beauty and all that, we had time allocated, like the sessions would end a bit earlier in the day from what we would normally have. You know, they weren't until like 5 or 5:30. So right there, it was like 3 o'clock, you're done, and you have the afternoon, you know, before dinner time with
go experience something.
Go and experience something. So we had all these experiences from you know, rock climbing to biking to trail, you know, stuff to scooters. You know, they call them scooters, kind of things.
Yeah.
They're downhill scooters. No, they're a little different. They're actually bikes, really, that are platform bikes where you stand on them and go down. Kind of like a scooter, you know,
like a razor.
But you don't sit down. You stand up, kind of like
right.
surfing the things. They had all kinds of stuff. But we had a fantastic time out there. Lots of great sessions, content from different people. You know, that conference is a bit more technical focused.
Yep.
A lot of it. So there were a lot of working sessions too, like we did a DNN Docs working session out there. Did some testing type stuff for platform testing. Tossed around ideas about how to, you know, there were more interactive sessions where people gave ideas of how, you know, we could potentially address something or help better or structure things better. And then, of course, you have the normal sessions, you know, that were more presentation style type things. One of the epic things that happened there was it was the first time there was a keynote that was actually community keynote. You know, it wasn't Andy Trieber or you know, or Sean Walker or something up there. It was the EAG leads, and we all just shared about different areas of what's going on in the community and stuff. So that was really nice. Of course, we had some nice view there right in the Swiss Alps, and one night we rode the oh gosh, what do you call it? The
Gondolas?
Yeah, gondola. Thank you. Up the mountain and ate at a restaurant on top of the mountain. I mean, you're overlooking this fantastic view. Of course, we were in a town that's more like a ski village. I mean, you know, like if wasn't a ton of people there when we were there because it's not ski season when we were there. But you could just feel the vibe of the place. You know, it's kind of the streets that you walk and Swiss chalets all over the place and all that. But it was a fantastic time, well received event, and just gorgeous. They also announced next year's DNN Connect, and that'll be June the 11th through the 14th in 2020, which is in Obergurgel. All right, Austria.
Well said. Rolled off the tongue. Very, very well done.
The way you pronounce it.
Obergurgel.
Yeah, Obergurgel. It's close to some things, so you can look it up at the map, but it's
and by things, you mean mountains.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yes, exactly. So it'll be a similar vibe, probably to the Swiss Alps there, but in beautiful Austria. Mikhail Tovish is the one that's our hands and feet on the ground there and doing a lot of the organization of this one. So I'm excited about that event.
All right. Well, plan out the DNN Summit first, everybody U.S. side, and then you can plan on what you want to do in June. Okay, so the topic for the evening is that we're going to spend time in DNN Docs. We're going to get into the Documentation Center, and we're going to run through content that we might consider adding in, talking about the things that have been rearranged and moved and where things might need to be edited, and I'll kind of talk in a minute about some ideas that I have for some things to add in. But maybe Clint, maybe you could start a little bit by just talking about what's happened recently within DNN Docs and what things have changed, what's currently hot right now, and what's coming up in the next month or so.
Gotcha. All right. So first of all, this is the wrong doc center, but it will give us a good point of context to start from, right?
It's part of what I wanted to ask about, because in part of today's discussion is I remember there being a structure in DNN Docs of things underneath of administrators, content editors, developers, and designers, and that when I pulled up my bookmarks, I noticed that the administrators section of content is gone. It's rearranged or it's renamed, and I spent a little time finding it, and so now what used to be underneath of a section called administrators is now underneath of guides, tutorials, and I can see the structure. It makes sense to me, and I think, oh, that's probably a little cleaner, more about the information rather than who the person is, and it seems like the right approach, but I can see things are moving around. So what's happening lately?
Yeah, so it's definitely a work in progress, and if you don't like that new structure, we can blame David, and if you do, then I'll take the credit.
Damn!
Like if you look at the genesis or like how everything started was DNN Corp handed over the documentation project to the community, right? And then so we had to kind of cleanse it or sanitize it, if you will, and part of that was just like formatting, right? Getting it out of that data format and going into Markdown. Then we had to select a system that we're using, and we selected DocFX after a couple of different trials. And David, if you're talking, you're muted. Now I know you're telling around some. And so we did a lot of stuff there. We finally got it in the system we wanted it to be in, and we finally got it clean enough where we can, work with it. And then, again, the whole beauty is that you can make pull requests. And now, to your question about information architecture, we looked at a lot of the content in the old docs. A lot of it was geared towards driving conversions to evoke, right? And so we kind of said, well, is that what we want to do for community docs, right?
I want to show this. Hold on 2 seconds, Clint. Let me, I don't want to start Slack, though, because I'm going to have a million messages.
Well, you can just give me a screen share, not sure.
Yeah, let's do that for just a second. Sorry, go ahead, Clint.
Yeah, so you'll notice those personas are still on the home page a little bit lower as you scroll down, like administrator, whatever. But we're trying to make it a good onboarding experience, right? So, like, if you come to the docs like you may not even know that you're a developer, administrator, whatever it may be, right? Yeah, so this is kind of the mind map thing. David, I'll let you talk through this.
Yeah, so like it's quite a challenge, right? You know, we kind of adopted this old persona-driven
approach for it, yeah.
to it, and it has a lot of benefits and it has some challenges on it as well.
And to some extent, that's a sales mindset, is finding the right people and saying how your stuff, your features and your tool will benefit these different market groups. And so it's a sales tool and it's a sales approach versus a resource approach or an information approach. So I understand. When the minute you showed me this, I'm like, I can completely see why we had to make this shift, especially because of the history of where this came from.
Yeah, because like we could have stuck with that, but you start having conversations like, well, what if I really want to do something that's more getting started? You know, it's like just walking somebody through how to get started. Well, I've got to share some conceptual type stuff of like, what is this that we're talking about? What does it mean, and all that kind of stuff. You know, it just doesn't fit nicely in the box always to persona-driven stuff. Or what if we want to share, here's how to do a solution, you know, how to build a solution. Let's say I need a blogging solution or whatever.
Right. Or is that the content editors or to administrators? Where does it go? Is it one or the other?
None of them. It's more of a business solution, and you want to show somebody kind of how to do it. So we really kind of went and looked at the way a lot of other platforms like this are documenting things, and nothing really just stood out as okay, that's the answer. You know, so we ended up developing our own, and this is really work in progress, but the new structure is we have the home page, which is just special content that helps us get to places, and also share some of the community things that are going on and statistics and stuff like that and contributions. The getting started is going to be a new section that is going to be persona driven, because, you know, as an administrator, you want to know what you need to know in order to get started with DNN. Your new job or whatever. Same thing. I'm a developer. I'm getting started with DNN. I need to know some of the basic things I need to know in order to get started, right? So those are more special documents that really walk someone through getting started and telling them everything that they need to know in order to get just going, you know, with it. Tutorials, this is where right now, so we've completed phase 1 of this new change. We're kind of moving into phase 2, if you will, now. Phase 1 was, let's get this structure in place. And oh, by the way, all the documents that we have currently in the old documentation center are really, most of them are tutorials. They're how to do something, how to add a user to DNN or whatever, or how to set up DNN, or how to install DNN, or whatever it is. They're more tutorials. So we got everything under tutorials. It's really under guides on the new map. So just my map's been updated a little bit. Labs and tutorials are going to live under guides. Okay. But all of the old documentation was really plopped under this tutorials area. Labs is something for the future. This is more of, hey, more creative, created this cool solution, cobbling together some old core modules and some Xmod cool shiz, right? And you want to share how you built this system.
Oh, absolutely. I could write some of those. It's kind of like a lab, you know, for people or something. It's like, it's not focused on any one feature or... But it's intended to describe a solution and the parts that were used to make that solution.
It's how you use DNN to actually provide solutions.
And we will be reviewing those for, like, if we sense twinges of sales pitches from module vendors, we're not accepting them. You can
live in this area.
Yeah, it's a gray area.
You know, it can't be. This is an advertisement for you to use us so that we can build a solution for you. It's more like, no, here's something we've experienced in the past. We want to share it with everybody, and you know, you can learn from this.
It's a white paper. It's a success story. But it's made to show the power of what can be done when you put the right pieces together.
Yeah, so like for instance, your solution may include writing a custom DNN module, right? This isn't necessarily sharing the code of that. It's really just saying, how you leverage the features of DNN to be able to write a module to be able to do that.
Sure.
So there's so many different cases for that. Features, the initial idea of this is basically a list of a bunch of features and
my pause question is, so you're right now in the phase where you've kind of gotten things structured, intended to where it's home, getting started tutorials and labs, guides, and that you're moving now towards it's going to change further and it's going to become features and reference?
Okay, so what we've done so far is we've dumped everything in tutorials, just about, except for the API documentation. That does live over in the reference area, okay? That is clearly the API documentation still, as well as releases are over there.
Okay.
All the rest of the documentation was just dumped into tutorials.
I see.
However, just because most of them were tutorials didn't necessarily mean that all of them were tutorials. So like today we had the our second DNN Docs meetup earlier today, and we had a working session because Peter Donkeras went through and reorganized some of that and said, that really doesn't make sense for it to be
where it
there.
is. It should move,
so this is something that's more of a feature explanation type document.
Yeah.
So now we realize, oh, we've got quite a few of those. So it makes sense now that that's going to move over under the architecture of features. So, but this will be a landing page essentially that'll be a big, like right now you just see an unordered list. It's just us listing as many features as we can think of in DNN.
Right. Okay.
It will evolve into like a table to where each item will be maybe in a section for a, let's see, I can't think of anything, security, for instance. You may have 5 features or whatever related to security in there. And each of those will have a short description, and it may link out to a document. That document can be a detailed document that explains the features.
So when we get into some of the things that I've brought for us to talk about as examples, that may be the first question is, I found similar content that could be elaborated upon, and that's probably under tutorials now, but what I'm talking about is really adding something that is either feature documentation or reference material. So maybe I'm talking about putting something in a new spot. Maybe that makes it more difficult. I don't know. We'll see when we get there.
Right now, reference is fairly straightforward. It could grow, but right now, this is really like code reference, like the API reference stuff. It's generated from code.
You mean .NET code.
That's
you don't.
right. Well,
you don't mean tokens that might be
code.
used inside of a module.
Right. That is not necessarily.
It's gray area.
Exactly. But that may be a tutorial of how to use those, but there may also be a feature document that explains what they are.
And a reference in the tutorial.
Exactly. So there's a lot of potential cross-pollination here, but that at least explains the new idea of what we're doing, and we're taking baby steps to get there.
All right. So that's a good intro. Clint, you have anything else you want to add in to that as a stepping off point?
No, I mean, I think he's covered it pretty good.
All right. Let me grab a presenter back here, David, and I'm going to describe a few things that I have here, and I'll try to be brief about them, and then I'll bring it back to you guys and see what you think about what's maybe something bite-sized, because I feel like the first thing I'm going to talk about is not bite-sized, it's bigger. The last 2 or 3 are kind of bite-sized, so let's kind of talk about it just a little bit. So one thing is that when we were going through, I remember in the old help doc information that one of the things that I go looking for once every 3 years, not often enough that I keep it on my desktop, but often enough that the next time I go searching for it, I think, where did I find that last time? And I have to go really hunting for it because people don't often use the token ability in the HTML module. Right. It's not something that's heavily used. It's not really the best thing for performance. I mean, it's a dicey item, but when you need it, it's the perfect thing for just a small little thing to do. And so the list of all of those tokens that you can use and a little bit of a write-up about that was missing in the old documentation. I took a look to see, what's in here, and they kind of describe, it's certainly on the screen, replace tokens, but there's no text about it. There's no text that describes it other than saying, if checked, tokens are replaced. There's no list of tokens. There's no description about it. So my thought was I have an older reference on the DNN software site that is the giant list of tokens that I will go through and reference. And my thought was we need to take this content and we need to get this inside of the new help section. So this is what I would really like to spend the most time on tonight. If everyone thinks this is a good idea, I would love to get these in here and find the right place for these to go.
So your goal would be, I mean, I think this is fabulous because, and this is a great idea that you have because a lot of people could go into the wiki and they could find some stuff that really
that hasn't been transferred over. Yes, right, exactly.
I think Will Stroll's done a few of those where he's grabbed some really important stuff out of the wiki that it's okay, it's in the wiki, but hey, we have this new document solution. Let's put it where it belongs.
To some extent, I don't know how much longer this will exist on DNNsoftware.com.
Yeah, we don't know.
And while we're building up all this other stuff in the docs, that's where it should be. Yeah. If I'm going to start sending people there, that's where I want them to go. So I think it's the time to move this over.
Absolutely. So your goal would be to really figure out
where this goes,
needs to go, and maybe get a starting on that.
Yeah, we'll start putting some things in. Maybe I'll grab and I'll copy and I'll start doing some work, and we'll make a pass at putting in a starter version of it, and I might clean it up as we go. But this is thing number one. Thing number two, let's take a look. So some of these are pages that I pulled up thinking where we could make some of these references. Security, I have some points and some thoughts of things that I could add into security. Security? What?
Security.
Security? Okay, so this is a point to ask about, and this is maybe off topic because it's not talking about getting content in there. But I asked David earlier about how as these pages move around, we're hitting a straight IIS level error 404 page. And he was explaining how the way that the doc system works, there's no handler, it's not .NET running, there's no list of URLs that redirect to old URL names or anything like that. But if this is a 404, if you can specify a 404, and you can make a classic ASP page, you can make a .NET page, you could make a handler 404 page that could process and maybe keep a list of old page URLs to new page URLs or something like that. So I don't know, just spitballing there and thinking something that as things change and move, this will get worse. People bookmark things and stuff that's lost.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed this up or pointed it out. This is supposed to be being handled right now. The site is managed or hosted on Amazon's
AWS.
Mm-hmm. And there's supposedly some settings in there that help you manage these 404s and get a little bit more friendly thing. However, redirects, I'm not sure. That probably would end up being a nightmare and a job in itself just for somebody to manage that all the time because especially right now, there's a lot of juggling, moving things around and shuffling. It'll probably calm down once we really establish this new idea.
Yeah. So maybe there's no permanent way around it, and it becomes a page that is a search of the actual site, so that then you're going for that.
Well, that's a good point. The search is so powerful on the site that you're probably not going to bookmark this stuff. You're just going to use the search because it's so freaking fast. It is.
All right.
It's powered by Algolia, so it's just super fast.
Well, so let's see. The third thing that I think we could add some information into is about skins and theme objects. I had picked this out earlier because, again, it's an example of something that I don't get into often, but when I need to go find some things, I've found previously that I've wanted to get to this PDF document of skin objects and possibly write up some information to describe depreciated older skin objects versus newer skin objects, specifically with the purpose of saying, if you have this error in DNN 8, it's because you probably have this older 7 pre-skin object. You need to replace it with X or delete it or what have you. Going up to DNN 9, you have X issue. And so my thought is that before we just get rid of it all, there's information that's present in this older PDF document of skin objects And this newer DNN 9 error information about skin paths is one of the things that I've had to deal with on occasion. And I thought, you know, this is here, between this and the other, there's going to be information we should pull out and put into docs. But in that one, this third one, I'm not sure how shovel-ready it is, because it would make me have some questions of, what is docs doing when it talks about old information versus new? Are you only writing and thinking of DNN 9? What happens when you talk about something that is 8 or 7 specific? Do you flag that a certain way? Are there some examples of topics that have already covered that well and we should follow that format?
Or if it's in a different language, if it's Spanish or German or French. You got a lot of different drop-down filters we got to account for. Version, language.
Oh, wait. What do you mean other languages? As in, when we put in help information, we're responsible to also try and put it in translated languages?
Not right now.
I see.
Not right now, but you do have a global audience that's interested in the platform, right?
Absolutely. But the forums, for instance, are in English, and we try to speak in English in those. Mm-hmm. It's lingua franca, but it's lingua.
So think about, Ryan, if you had to make an Xmod module that allowed people to filter and sort on version, right? So like what number version, and then edition, so you know, evoke, platform, and then language, right? So
right.
And it cannot be a dynamic web app. It's got to be a static site, right? So
I'm imagining some type of container that marks a block of content as being DNN 7 specific or DNN 5 specific, and then
that's an application.
And then, yeah, and you also have to make
some kind of container, some kind of markdown that says this is this content.
But it's just HTML.
So this is the we have this conversation a lot, like in the group, right? Because you've got to make it to where it is relevant for like any user, any use case, any version, any edition, right? And then also you need to make it SEO friendly, right? So you got to have the URLs that make sense, right? So we have to make some decisions on like what sacrifices that we can make. And again, it's not like it's dynamic; it's static.
Right,
and
right.
You want to comment? What you want to say?
Oh, you said it well. You said it good. No, we have. I mean, we've labored over this hours and hours and hours and hours and hours.
So, at the current moment, is there an example of a current docs page or item that I could point to that has an example of mentioning different versions or content about different versions?
Our current stance, I guess. And, Clint, correct me if I'm wrong, but the current stance is we are documenting the current version of everything. If there is something that specifically relates to an older version that just has to be in this documentation as well, fine, reference it. But there's no tagging going on except for in the front matter. It's just that we're not doing it yet. So when we inherited all the docs, they had front matter in there that actually stated the version of
that it applied to.
That it applied to. Unfortunately, that's all. Everything was 9. Whatever it was, 1 or 9.2. You can put that in there, but we're not leveraging that in any shape, form, or fashion.
I wonder if when you get into features, that will become more important, because you'll mention a feature, and then you'll need to credit and say, feature present from DNN, 8.4 and above.
Yeah, and it's like, do you create a new page if it's different in a new version, or do you put it on the same page, right? So it is a very in-depth combat.
And just to bring that a little bit to a practical light, every page on this website is index.html.
Right, yeah.
It starts from index.md, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But it's based on a name that you give it.
And then it's the index of that.
That folder contains one file right now. Mm-hmm. That file is indexed. So
you do have some examples of things that have multiple versions. Are those set up currently as a good example to follow, or we shouldn't even think of following anything? We need to blaze a new path.
Right now, it's just something we haven't solved.
Right. So like the HTML module has the HTML module and the HTML Pro module. And those are different kinds of descriptions.
HTML Pro is an evoke.
And that was one decision. We ripped out the evoke stuff.
All
well,
of
no,
that
it's
stuff
in here.
is
I just loaded it up.
Well, we ripped out everything that we've ripped out as much as we have found so far. That doesn't mean within a page you don't have something that
The references, HTML Pro.
Yeah, that needs to be changed. Clint?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying you might not find some, but Donker made a sweeping pass where it was like, we're taking out evokes, so it makes it too complex.
So, like, you'll notice that anything that was in the old content managers area that doesn't apply to the DNN platform is gone.
I see.
A lot of that
I have no problem.
Community manager.
I completely understand. But at the same time, if I was going to help share some training information, make some videos, and put some stuff into the help where I need some clients who have both Evoke and Community Editions for me to explain to them, here's how page versioning and module versioning works. This is why you have this one screen that says this module does not belong to this page, which freaks people out.
So Corp still maintains the Evoke documentation. And that's all I have to say about that.
I see. Okay, I'll move off that point and ponder it as we go. So where should we start first? If we, this first one that I was describing is, kind of a list of information from the HTML replacement tokens. These are the things which you can put inside of your code content in an HTML module. You go back and you tick that checkbox and say replace tokens, and you can get information that would show you the home directory so that you could use it as part of an image reference that you're using, or the name of the portal. That way, if it gets changed, it stays consistent. We've used it to do the date. We've used it to do administrator contact information. It's not something we use heavily, and we don't use it frequently, but when we use it, this list is invaluable to me because I don't remember what these names are. I can make a guess, but I'd love to just go to my list and pull from it. So if this list of replacement tokens is going to go somewhere, let me start with question number one. Does it go onto a page of its own, or does it go into and around the content that's already existing on some other page?
Okay.
Or is that even the first question to ask?
So this is my thought of where that might would go. You mentioned earlier this is kind of a reference document.
I feel so.
Well,
yeah.
There is currently a section called references under tutorials. So if you will go down just a little bit, or you just filter at the top for references, just start typing.
I mean, I'm looking at the reference section.
Oh, there you go, references. Yeah. So it lives in here, and you're, so
technically, what I'm talking about would be references, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Versus tutorials.
Well, I would probably create a new file right in the root of references, or a folder, sorry, right in the root of references.
And Ryan, I would just add in, don't feel like the weight is 100% on your shoulders, right? If you put it in a place that it probably doesn't fit, in the review process, you'll get feedback, and the team will work to help put it where it should go, right?
Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah, so like if you collapsed down included modules.
Uh-huh.
Right, so that's all the ones that are in the root of references right now.
I see.
So it doesn't really fit in any of those. This is not a module. This is a feature of DNN.
It's a feature of the HTML module. So I would say it should be underneath of HTML
actually,
text.
no, it's not a feature of the HTML module. It
can
be
use
used in the HTML module, but it can also be used elsewhere.
Can you use the same token somewhere else?
It is a token system. Built
In a theme or a newsletter.
Well,
yes,
those
I
are
agree
different
with you.
tokens. Those are different tokens.
Well, you could use it in the copyright section of the skin or of the portal settings, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's an example that it could go.
That's a great example.
That's an example that it could go and be used somewhere else.
And
so
not in
underneath the HTML module wouldn't be the place to put this.
Right.
Then we would reference and link to it in different places.
This is token system or token
system token.
Yeah, so wherever you create the page, you could come back to this HTML and then make a link to it, right?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
I follow.
That's great.
Okay. So then.
What was it called on the other thing? It was
replacement
tokens. Yeah. So I would probably call it replacement
tokens. Right.
This is, yeah. That's really what it is.
So how does one start by saying they want to create a new page underneath the references?
Okay. So this is a situation, and you and I talked briefly about this beforehand. Some changes, you know, this is not a document that exists already in DNN Docs that you're wanting to
make an edit
and then add some new content to it. This is really a new file, right? So you have a couple of options. This is my recommendation on this one because it is not straightforward just text and some links and some basic stuff. You're going to get into some more advanced markup.
We're going to put it into a table. We're going to make a definition list. I'm not sure what we're going to do, but we'll start.
Probably not going to want to do all this in the context of your browser, right?
It wouldn't be any different than me doing it in Sublime or in Visual Studio Code.
In Sublime, at least you get the color, syntax highlighting, and stuff like that. And you know, so if it were me, I would actually, in this case, I would clone the repository, and then I wouldn't worry about building it locally or viewing it necessarily.
You would do it until you create the page, and then you'd put it back, and then come and edit it?
No, I would just use my editor for the file. Now, the other way to do this is you can create the file, forget about GitHub or Git, just create the file and have some kind of, you know, do all the markdown that you think is appropriate using your Sublime editor, you know, so that you can at least see if you've made any glaring mistakes.
Right.
And then you can copy and paste that whole thing into the browser of the new file that you create.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now, the thing is, if you're going to work in the browser in GitHub, you're going to be working one file at a time, and it's going to be one pull request per file, unless you know how to finagle all that.
Right. The benefit then is you're doing it really with the best intention of editing something that already exists, adding to what's there, and you're doing it one at a time. Versus if you're going to get in and just start working on a concept, and it's got to be on 4 or 5 different things, clone the repository,
this is going
work
to have
on
a
it,
bit
and
of
put it back up
tentacles.
again.
You know, just like Clint mentioned, you may want to reference this you know, in the HTML text documentation. You may want to reference this in the site settings documentation.
Right. Those are 2 starter points.
So there you've got at least 3 files already that you need to touch. The new one that you're going to create and those 2 existing ones. So I would personally clone the repository and start working there. Unfortunately, you're going to probably want to get DocFX up and working, so you're automatically, with this kind of change, going into something a bit more complex.
Yeah, there's a higher threshold of getting involved and working on things.
Yeah, exactly.
For tonight, let's work on the simple version. Can you make a new page through the browser version?
Absolutely, yeah. Now you can start this new page.
Yeah.
And you can have a draft pull request.
Okay, I like that.
Right? So what that does is it tells us,
something's being worked on.
Pull request out there, but it's still in progress. It's a work in progress. Used to, we would put WIP in the subject line.
Yeah, because you were kind of tagging it as your own. Yeah, sure.
But now GitHub actually has that feature. It's a draft PR. It's not ready to be reviewed or merged.
Right.
So let's do that.
Okay.
So why don't you go to GitHub and go to github.com/DNN community /DNN docs.
.docs?
Nope, just DNN docs. There you go. All right, and are you currently logged in?
I am.
Okay. Oh, you just have to have an extra read that.
Yeah.
Okay, so here what you can do is we need to find where that's actually going to be.
Okay.
So if you go back and look at the URL
of
one of the other ones that are at that same level.
What we were kind of saying was that we were talking about at the main reference level. So let's say DNN Solutions.
That's perfect.
So that is content, guides, tutorials, references, DNN Solutions. And this is the target that we're trying to be at.
So you're going to be creating another folder, not DNN Solutions. You'll be calling another folder called
Replacement Tokens.
Yep, Replacement Dash Tokens.
Okay.
And then you'll create an index.md inside of there. So you just need to remember content, guides, tutorials, references. This is literally the folder path that you're going to go down. Content, guides, tutorials, references. So now that we're here, you can now create a new file, and you go, but hold on, I need to create a folder.
A folder, not a file, right?
This is where GitHub magic can happen. Okay.
This is where right here at this part. This is why I'm glad we're doing this session. Because I wouldn't have done this on my own. I would have tinkered around. I probably would have stuck to, I'll tell you what, I'll wait for somebody to make it, and then I'll edit it. I'd like to help with this, so this is helping me and hopefully helping other people afterwards to do the same thing. All right, so it is creating a new file still.
We're going to create a new file.
Right.
That file is index.md, but
you
go ahead and click it.
You tell it a location and it makes the folder?
Go ahead and click it. You'll see this here. So what you're going to want to do is type, what was it called?
We were saying replacement-tokens.
Yep. And this will be all lowercase in there. So
okay, I will change that out.
And use a dash in between.
Doing this the most backward way possible.
Yep. Now go to the end of that and hit slash.
Nice. Okay.
All right, now you type index.md and you
just hit enter?
Okay. Yes. All right, now you see the editor is already there.
Nuts. Wow.
So,
okay.
You know, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to have two windows open here at this point because you need some starter
structure,
right?
Some starter structure. Can I get that from one of the other?
Any other file, really,
right?
You can get it from. What I would do is just grab like that DNN Solutions one that you were in or whatever, and maybe content. Well, you can just grab it from any of them.
Yeah.
So
I'll get close to where I was.
Level
Are you
in
sure?
the root.
Okay.
Yep. Go up one level in the root. There is a file here called index.md. All right. That right there, if you'll go you'll click raw here. All right. What this is, that's the raw file contents there. You could have clicked edit, but it tries to make
it marks it as that you're editing it and you're backing out of it. If I just hit raw, I'm seeing the original content.
All right. What we're looking at here is you'll see a section that is within 3 dashes at the top and 3 dashes below it.
And this is the point to mention that we're talking about Markdown here. And anybody who's
well, this is not even Markdown here. This is front matter.
Okay.
So this is something special to DocFX. Other systems use it. You may have run across YAML files before.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? They use front matter. And that's just, these are 3.
It's the start of a divider, and it's basically making a structure.
What are these really called? Think of them as variables, if you will. But every page needs a title. It needs a description. The title gets rendered in the title meta information in the head of the page. The underscore description gets rendered as the description of the page, so that's the SEO stuff, right? And then document type, this, we're going to have to change that. So I probably shouldn't have used this file. This is
be a UID too, right there.
Yeah, let's not use this file. Let's go into content. Let's grab any file within content. I forgot this one was special. So, anything, and you won't find anything in anything other than tutorials probably. So you can grab the index from here because it'll be simple enough. You just scroll all the way down there. There's a placeholder page there, for index. This one's simple because it's got all the stuff that you need. So this won't matter. This is what's normal. You'll have a UID, which is a unique identifier. The one in the root doesn't have this because that's the home page and it uses
title, underscore description, and document type versus
So every other document in the system uses this.
Gotcha. So no description though. No description in this one?
Some of them have them and some of them don't.
Gotcha.
So if it's something that we really want to control the SEO on, we put that in there. So.
Okay, got it. All right, so then
just copy that whole thing, and then we'll paste that into.
That's what we'll go ahead and get. And I will do something here in a second to cut this and do this and do this, bam, so that my project stuff is on screen.
Do you want to get rid of that first? You can only have one section of
Right. But I was going to say that I wanted to keep a description. I can add that in, right?
You can.
Okay.
Yeah, it won't hurt it, and it'll actually inject that description
Yeah.
into there. So I would put it below title. It doesn't matter the order of these.
Okay.
But I would try to stay consistent. Okay, so in this case, the title, the UID of this, you need to know, since you're adding this as a new document, you need to know that this is unique.
Uh-huh.
How do you know that?
Didn't it create something unique when I created that folder? That is a
Not
path
this.
down to that thing?
This
Right.
is,
Can I go get a UID from that location and that'll give it to me?
This is manual.
So then I stick a GUID on it? What are we doing here?
Nope. So in this case, you know there's no other document out there that's called replacement tokens, right?
I don't believe so, right?
So let's use replacement-tokens. The build process will actually catch it if
there's a conflict?
Yeah, it'll fill.
Okay. All right.
Your title needs to be, probably replacement tokens, but this is where you can use the case to replace this.
Mm-hmm.
That looks pretty good, and obviously the description needs to be something.
Yeah, we'll take a look to see. This one kind of has a thing here. It's not a bad starter description. I might write something more succinct later, but let me just grab that as a start.
Now, you've got double quotes inside of double quotes here, so you do have to...
Where? I see. Okay.
About us. Yep. So you'll probably just want to remove those quotes.
It's not necessary.
Yeah. Just so you won't run into any build issues with this.
Sure.
Like you said, you're going to probably replace this later.
You were saying that we are going off of the newest version of DNN, and this content has a DNN version. What's the better point of valor here? Just delete this so it doesn't say anything at all, or leave it in and...
We're leaving all these in there because we hope in the future we will find a way to address this version.
So then I could come in here and say,
02,
I don't know,
02 if you want to.
03, because that would be when it came in. I mean, it's been in there forever. Or I'll just leave it as 9, and I'll won't rock the boat as I get started.
It's not going to hurt anything. It's not going to break anything. Right now, everything is 9.2.0, and that's obviously not what version we're on right now.
Right.
So it's already whacked.
Yep.
But they're all whacked in sync.
The same way?
So, it's kind of like playing in a band.
Yeah.
As long as we mess up together, nobody will ever know.
Yep.
So I personally would just leave that alone for now.
Then
now you can start with your markdown. Everything below that second set of 3 dashes is your actual markdown.
Content.
Now, you may ask, well, okay, you say markdown. What flavor of markdown are we using here? Well, this is actually a DocFX flavored markdown, which is very similar to what you would experience on GitHub. It's got some extra stuff in it. You may see in some other documents XREF. That's how you do hyperlinking
within different things. Yeah.
Cross-reference. At build time, when this thing gets built to create the static site, it creates it uses XREF : whatever the UID is to actually
find that and link it.
Change that to the path to the HTML.
Right. And if you put in something bad, it just goes on, it alerts you, what happens?
It'll be broken. It will alert you.
It will let you put in something broken, or it'll stop?
It'll be a build error. Well, actually,
it will let you put a bad link in, and during the build process, there'll be a warning. It won't break it. It'll just be a warning. Ryan, let me ask you one question here about the Sublime. Does it do like a preview window? Because I know in Visual Studio Code, when I'm doing Markdown, I can open up a preview, and it actually shows me what it's going to look like, and that's very helpful when it does tables. Or when
Right. There are a few different formatting things that I can put in place that will give me color coding. I often live.
You're talking about a preview window.
So I'm telling you, no is the end answer. I live inside of XML formatting for almost all of the work that I do regularly. Here, if I change it to Markdown, I at least get some color coding if there was going to be color coding.
So I would encourage you to download Visual Studio Code at some point, and because the color, the syntax highlighting is nice, but that's not going to help you when you the table that you're about to do, and I can speak from conviction because I did hundreds of tables when I was doing the conversion, right? When you start getting into, you know, multiple columns, multiple cells with unique formatting in those, that previewer is going to save you a ton of time.
Let's take a look at that.
We're going to give you the
This is a good way to at least check the main stuff, right? You know, that gives you some confidence where you don't have to get DocFX up and running and all this stuff. You can at least see the general previews working.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question regarding tables.
Go, Daniel.
Tables and markup, simple tables are not too bad, but when you get into more complicated stuff, sometimes it's very hard to get something that looks the way you need it to look.
Yeah.
Can you mix HTML inside of the markup, inside of the markdown?
So you can mix HTML and markdown. In the table, though, I don't know if you're able to. You can't do like a table cell padding, spacing, all that. It just gets funky.
Okay,
because
normal table, table row, table data, that would work.
So if you were ultimately this markdown is going to get rendered in HTML, right? So if you were going to do a table and you wanted to do HTML, I would do the entire thing either in HTML or in markdown, right? Because it's going to get funky when you start mixing them. And the one thing that I remember specifically is that you cannot use a call out, like a note where we got like important or whatever inside of a cell. It just doesn't work.
Okay, and let's say you're doing a document that is a bit more complex and you want to do the document in HTML. Is that supported, or is that to be all markdown?
I don't know about that. That may be one for David because you got to go through the build process.
Okay.
It's all markdown.
It's all markdown. It has to be.
No.
it can be mixed, but it's per section.
We can do it, but we're not going to probably process that. Everything ultimately needs to be a markdown file.
Okay.
And Ryan, at the top right corner where you see the X as if you were going to close Visual Studio Code,
right?
Do you see the not that one, but the one to the left with the Mac?
Gotcha.
Click. Yeah. Now you can start doing stuff. See?
Sure.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
That's your key right there. You can edit it.
And when we start doing this table, you'll really appreciate that thing.
Clint, you want to walk him through setting up a basic table?
Yeah, is there a good starter one I should copy from where you've spent some blood and tears on it?
So we could do that, but it'll probably just be easier just to go ahead and type some stuff out. So just after coming soon, just hit enter a couple times.
Yep. And
then what you're gonna do, and I'm gonna have to remember how I did this, right? So the vertical pipe, right? You know what key I'm talking about?
Yep.
So go ahead and do that, and then just put like title 1, just any word, vertical pipe, another one, and another vertical pipe. All right, now and end it with a vertical, and then hit enter, and then do a vertical pipe, and then 3 dashes. No, good. Dash, dash, dash. Another one. Another one, and then no. Now enter. Now look at your previewer already. See that?
Because we have three. Yeah, we have 3 cells with lines in it to do us an underline underneath. I got it. Okay.
Well, it's going to be a table once it gets rendered, but now just write, whatever, pipe, text. See how it's doing it?
Yep.
So now let's say that you want to put a hyperlink in one of these cells, right? So David earlier, and the other thing too that makes this funky, when you start putting in content, imagine that you had 8 words in one cell, 30 words in the next, and then it's not going to space out evenly on the left side, right? It doesn't care, right? It's the table over there will, but not here, right? So your line wrapping is going to drive you crazy. So anyways, I would start a new line.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I also put line breaks in there.
Oh, you put line breaks.
I wanted to see. I wanted to see. What is it going to do? I'm creating some problems.
Now, if I might add to this, since you're in Visual Studio Code, there's a ton of extensions that help with Markdown.
Yeah.
if you go, I think it's Markdown all-in-one or something, you actually have completion for tables and aligning those things so it looks nice, both rendered and pre-rendered. And you have normal, like word editor shortcuts. If you do Control B, it's going to add the markup to make it bold, and all kinds of cool stuff that helps you write Markdown.
Yeah,
we'll pull that as the finesse version that we add into.
Yep.
Nice.
So no, that's awesome, Daniel. Go ahead, David.
I was saying, you'll eventually stop using Sublime because you're like, oh my gosh, Visual Studio Code is awesome.
Yes, I've been there a couple of times.
Ryan, let's walk through creating a hyperlink. So create a new line, and let's do a hyperlink. Yeah,
right.
so we'll link one of those, right? So you're going to need to do what's called an xref, right? And that's going to start with a bracket, so like an open bracket.
Square bracket, curly brace.
Square bracket.
Okay.
Square bracket. And then you're going to go xref, which means cross-ref. And then you're going to do colon, okay? And then the next word that you would use is going to be the UID. So let's just grab a UID of some other random page that you want to reference that already exists in the docs. So you would probably have to look at it on GitHub or whatever.
And let's imagine it's this page. Can I get the UID from here?
Well, you could, but you
Better to get it from GitHub?
click Improve this document.
And then go raw.
Well, you're already there. So you got.
Well, there it is right there. Yeah, you can see it at the top.
Holy cow, that's a UID.
Well, it just goes to config module.
Config module HTML text locale.
No, not locale. Locale for next.
Yeah, so if you go raw,
you'll see it's in a new line.
Bingo.
So
That feels more confident to grab. Less chance to get it wrong. All right.
Paste. Now close the bracket, and then now do an open close parentheses.
Close parenthesis or
Opening close parenthesis.
Outside of the bracket?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
And then see how it made it a hyperlink over there? Whatever text you want to put in between the open and close.
Yes. I'm familiar with that. Sure.
Just put YOLO or whatever, and then that will be.
Move your cursor.
Yeah. Leave it. Did I make something wrong?
You got it.
Did you hit?
I think it's the opposite.
You think
in the square brackets it's the text, in the parentheses it's the link.
Okay, well try that. Try it backwards.
Oh, okay. You're right. Daniel's right. Yeah, that's right. Just flip those. Yeah.
Okay.
Patterson told you wrong.
There you go.
There we go. I like it.
And then, like, if you wanted to bold and all that kind of stuff, that's probably where that plugin that Daniel's talking about will help. But it's like, double star, stuff like that.
Yeah, that plugin, if you actually go to a link and you copy and you paste it in the Markdown file, it's going to do this for you with the page title and the link. So you can just replace the title with, if you need to. It's very nice. I put it in the chat if you want to take a look.
Sweet.
No. I didn't realize I copied the whole thing.
You need 8.
I do. Partly I'm moving around the conference call thing that's in front of it.
Or, as Lee Sykes would say, an
HTML?
You'll click that marketplace link there in the description.
Marketplace link.
Move your mouse to the left. Yeah.
And install.
Voila.
And you have little, if you scroll down to show people. Okay. If you just scroll down, you're going to see a couple animated.
Yeah, there are a couple of good examples here.
Very nice.
If you scroll down,
you have an example.
Bold, italic, and everything. Yeah, I'm going to go. but I like the animation. I don't know if the animation is coming through in the video.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's nice.
Now you can scroll.
And then it's kind of crazy that you click install again.
Yeah, yeah.
And Ryan, we will be looking for a blog summary on how to contribute to docs after the session.
Sure thing.
Promptly.
Promptly. Oh man, I was going to write it while I was driving to DNN Summit.
And that's done. If you go back to your Markdown, you have a link in your clipboard already. So just do a new line and paste. You're going to see it does the Markdown.
Wow, how beautiful that is. Nice.
Yeah, it's very useful. And if you go on your table, I think you can right-click to make it pretty or something, and it's going to align all those bars. Is it a right-click?
Already, just being able to click and make something bold, that's very nice.
Yeah, Control B and stuff. It's useful.
Yeah, very, very useful.
Yeah, and I think if you start writing a table, it's going to auto-complete what's needed or some such. I didn't read it all, but it's very useful.
Just trying to...
I think you can line between the old and the new table or something.
Definitely have to read through the information.
No, nothing offered.
Yeah, I think we'll have to get.
There's something to align the tables in the animation. It shows it.
Yeah, we'll do. Okay, so we've started to make a link. Let's go through the process of posting this and getting this content up, because we said too we were going to make this a draft.
Draft.
Right.
Pull request. Yeah. So let's go back over. Well, let's copy this into your GitHub browser, your browser for that particular one. You just have to find that page.
I was on replacement tokens, right?
So just go into there, paste it, and then scroll down. All right, you're going to want to put in a subject here. So, like something like add documentation for reference or whatever, add reference tokens or whatever it's called, replacement tokens, yeah. That's nice and short, and then a more detailed description down below.
Okay. There we go.
All right. So you're going to want to now click the Propose New File. And this is going to automatically try to start creating a pull request for you. All right, what it's done is it has now forked the entire DNN Docs repo to your GitHub hosted repo.
Right. I can see more creative DNN Docs.
It has created a new branch called patch-1 for you. See up there at the top?
I see. We kind of got this outlined right here.
Yep.
Okay.
So you can leave it in this state, and if you're familiar with Git, you can just continue pushing this branch and then do a pull request later.
Right. And if I wanted to pull down information and start working on a local and put it back up to this, I could start going to town. Okay.
But we can go ahead and click. I mean, you should see down below that there's only one file that is showing for it.
Right.
So that looks right. It didn't look like you accidentally did something else. That's really what you wanted to start working on. So now you can scroll up a little bit, and there's a green button for Create Pull Request.
Right.
You can click that.
I would never have clicked this to go because I'm thinking I want to make a draft. Where do I set some status on it first?
Well, normally you wouldn't create a pull request at this stage because you don't really have anything viable.
Right.
Yet. But here, Daniel, do you know a way to make the? Yeah, there you go. That's it. We found it right away. That's what I was going to ask.
Feels perfect. Draft pull request.
Yep. Cannot
be merged until marked is ready for review. Perfect.
Yeah.
That's what I would want.
That's what you would want to do.
Yeah.
And in this case, this is not like an editing existing file thing. So you might have wanted to come out here and create an issue and explain what you want to do, and that's kind of your starting point. You know, you could do that. Just then, when you create your pull request, you can reference that issue and close it out. But we don't require that on this, so this is perfectly fine. So you can just draft your pull request, and it's sitting there ready to go. Now, the thing is, at this point, do you know how to go back and make changes?
I would love to bring up the page and continue in the raw, work in Visual Studio and code, and then come back into the raw and keep pasting into that.
Yep. So notice up at the top it says, More Creative wants to merge one commit into DNN Community Master. That's
from
master
our
branch,
patch location, right?
From your GitHub.
Right. And so if I want to keep working in it, I got to go to my patch.
Yeah,
I got to go to my branch into patch one,
yep.
right? So I come into here now.
Now notice, I'm going to walk you through this.
Okay.
Look at the URL. It's More Creative /DNN docs.
Right.
Right. Now look,
this is my branch.
Down right below 450 commits. See, branch is patch-1.
Right.
So you're on the correct branch. All right.
Right.
Now go navigate in the files there.
Yeah, I got to go down the whole path of where I was.
It should be there.
I'm not sure I remember where I was. References, yeah.
And then there's your new folder.
Oh, replace the tokens. And underneath replace the tokens, hot dog. Look at that.
So now you can click edit and you can save that.
See, this already shows me what I would want anyways, and that I can see my information roughly structured, and this is nice.
Yep. Tables highlighted and styled.
So you may think that you would edit this and you'd have to somehow update your, what just happened?
My browser jumped.
Oh, okay. You might think that you would edit this, save it, and then you have to go do something else to get the pull request updated, right?
But it's in draft mode.
You don't have to. No.
Oh?
Actually,
it's
the pull request is made against this branch on your GitHub.
So I can keep changing this all I want to.
It'll automatically update the pull request with the new commit to that file. So you can edit this 500 times, and it will keep updating, the commits on the pull request. I
spend some time, and I start putting in some of this content, and I start, breaking it out. And I'm committing to doing some of this right now, and I'm going to go work on some of this stuff, and maybe then I'll work, and we'll kind of have a sidebar conversation on some other things. But let's say I get to the point where I'm done with it, and I want to say that I want to commit the thing as a pull request versus a draft pull request. I don't do that over here in patch 1. I do that back up at the main, right? So your pull request exists on as a draft.
The DNN community, DNN
right.
docs repo. So you go back there.
Right.
Let's go find that again.
Okay.
All right. So scroll up, and right below your
right here.
There you go. You can click that. That'll get you back to the repo. Now from here, you can go to the pull request tab. See that right below the other side, code. So you got code, issues, pull requests. Go up a little bit. The tabs. There you go. Pull requests. Your draft pull request is sitting right there. You see it?
Oh, no, I didn't even reference it. I didn't even realize that's what that was. Okay, gotcha.
So if you wanted to, if there was a ton of them out there, you could use the author drop down and filter it by the ones that you've authored. So if you click that, see the button there, ready for review? That switches.
That's committing it from draft to pull request.
Yeah, it's just changing that. Your commits are going to keep showing up here. See where this one says creating new replacement tokens reference ... verified, and then you got 83AF 0.
Yes.
That is a commit.
That one commit, right.
So if you were to edit your file on your branch
and make another, I'm going to have two of them.
You would see another one listed there, and it would have a new code at the end of it, just a new commit.
Yep.
It would automatically update STR.
Yep. Okay.
So that's it. I mean, you are now a GitHub browser expert.
So there are things that people love their specific editors for, and they love working in certain things. But if I was to say what I love doing in Sublime is working on things like this, where I'm going to be working on a lot of content at one point in time. So I can come in here and edit this as HTML. I can come in, I can grab this. I don't need the editor anymore. And I can come back into my Sublime. I will make another tab. I will put in all of this HTML content. And I realize you could do a find and replace to do several of these different kinds of things too. But for me, I could highlight a batch of things like a TD tag, or let's say I just want to work with the beginning of a TD tag. I can highlight multiple ones on a page at the same time, and I can begin editing all of those lines at the same time. That, to me, is what I won't leave out of Sublime. We have that in Visual Studio Code, or there's I was going to say, are there extensions to do that? Because that, to me, is the one thing why I left Notepad++ or any of the other tools over time, was because I use that daily, multiple times.
Notepad++ does that well too.
It must have been added. This was the thing that blew my mind when I came over to it.
That's really cool.
Okay, so this was my plan, was to jump in here and start taking this out of a table and out of the structure and just bring over the content as it is. I might need to clean it up. I might need to remove some things. But if I spend 20 minutes working on this, I should have something viable as a first pass. So that's what I'm going to do right now for the rest of this time period, is just work on this. We can put something in.
Okay.
You want to switch gears and you
let's finish this up, because there's one more thing we haven't talked about here.
Let's do it.
Let's hit the fast forward button.
Okay.
You've spent your 20 minutes.
Yep.
You have your document looking sexy.
Right.
You're ready to flip the switch and make that pull request ready for review. All right. We look at it and we go, oh man, that's a great idea. Let's go ahead. Yeah, looks good, Ryan. We're going to merge it. In the merge, the site builds. Okay, and it publishes. And we go, you're like, oh, they accepted my pull request. It's merged. Great, let me go to the site.
But you build. I don't build, right?
Well, the
system builds.
Yep.
Okay.
Because we use.
Clint, what was that on your screen?
Letting you know I got an email that you made a.
Woo! All right, my first pull request.
Oh, okay, cool. So you're excited. You're ready to see it live. You go out there. You know it's approved, you know it's merged, you know the site has built.
But has it built?
But you don't see your document. And you go, what's up?
Where is it?
What's going on? It ain't there because your table of contents is not updated. So let's go back to dnndocs.com. Right? I'm going to walk you through this.
I see. Right. And I can do that in a draft as well?
All right, let's get to the dnndocs.com so we get everybody seeing what we're talking about. That left sidebar
is a page.
This is actually an index.md that's special. Well, it's not really an index.md.
I get it.
toc.md.
I get it. Okay.
And it is sitting in the root of the folder called references.
And you have
sorry, not references, tutorials.
And you have a cross-reference that goes to your specific page in there, and you're just building a menu out of it.
Yeah, go look at it. It's really straightforward.
It's easy to understand.
So you're saying that it is in the root of references.
No, it's actually in the root of
Look at the path. Look at the path.
It's in tutorials. So go up to guides.
Why is it not inside of guides or content?
Go to guides. I'm going to show you.
In the website or in GitHub?
Right there where you're at. No, just click guides.
Click guides.
Okay, click guides. There you go.
I was going to URL.
Now click tutorials.
So there's a TOC.
So it's underneath the tutorials.
It is in the root of where you see the menu that you're currently looking at.
See.
And this is the root of where you're looking at.
Is there another one underneath the references with the subs there and you have to edit two, or it's all in one?
All in one.
Okay. Oh, nuts. Let's go look for it. Okay, so this is GitHub. This is my repo. I kind of want to move that like that. Okay. So here I would be heading to what? Content.
So if you look like that at that level you just were, there it is. TOC.md.
So that's TOC. Well, when you go back,
now if you go back to more it does.
Okay.
This is the TOC file that you see when you click guides.
I get it.
When you click tutorials, see that's showing the two links there. So you'll go up one level. This is the wrong place.
No, I just wanted to see it. I wanted to see what it looks like.
It's pretty straightforward. It's just your link markdown. And
the name inside the square, and then our reference.
And the name of the file
this isn't XREF related because it's a path instead of.
These are relative paths. Yes.
Got it.
Sometimes you'll see XREFs in other places, and in table contents we use relative paths.
So when I go underneath the reference.
Okay, it's not there.
Oh.
You got to go up to tutorials. So it's down there. There it is. That's everything is in there.
Now, if you look at the raw on that, you'll see how you're getting those subsections. Star is pound versus pound. Or pound,
and then triples becomes triple pounds. That makes sense.
So there's subs of the double pound that's above it, and that's a sub of the single pound that's above that.
So the idea would be when I commit the page, I would also then come and do a pull for this file, edit it, and commit it as well.
So this is a good, example of where it would be beneficial for you to just clone the repo, make those two file changes locally, and then through using either the command line, forget it, or
but to some extent, I could do it in my patch 1 because it's there, right?
You can, absolutely. You can go to patch 1 branch on GitHub in the browser.
I feel like that would be the right way to do it since I have created it.
It is the right way to do it.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely, it is.
All right.
I was just saying, there's two ways to do it.
Right.
What you did, you had to edit one file in order to get your branch created on your forked repo.
Right.
Whereas you could have just worked locally, created your own branch locally, pushed it to your forked repo as that branch name, and then did a pull request.
I could almost
to the same end.
I could almost see that if I'm just doing it leisurely, if I'm doing it a little bit here and there, I would follow this path. But if I was saying this section is a mess, I want to get my hands in there and organize this and this and this and this and this, then working locally and putting up to that would make more sense.
And you'd probably want to visualize it locally and run it and get all that mess. Now you'll see here, I'll point this out since we're in here. Remember how we talked about, we just took everything from the old persona-driven stuff and just dumped it in here. You see these comments in here?
Yeah.
That's to remind us all this is from that section. All this is from that section. So that like you're looking at, this is start of the securing your site nav item.
Right. But to some extent, the extra divisions between these, the spaces, the returns, those aren't respected anyways. So, the fact of whether this is standalone or it's right up next to it doesn't matter at all.
See the first line up there?
It's just readability for us.
Yeah. Administrators there, if you were to scroll down, you'd eventually find developers, and you would look at and find designers as well. There's not as much in the other sections, but they're down there.
So when we're talking about references, this is the right location, and we would be talking about
your token replace.
References right there under references. So you would have a double hash.
Right, because I'm trying to go in and amongst these guys. But
you notice there's XREFs there, right?
To some extent, I see the XREF. Thank you. Yes. So
you create a page and then you create a link to it.
Right, but I would decide the order of it.
You would have to
I'd have to think about where it's going to go.
It kind of makes no sense right now, right?
Kinda. I'm like, okay, solutions, control bar, persona bar. This is.
And you also kind of have to look at it from a hash standpoint. It's like at least it's commented for the section, but once you get down to included modules, then you start getting into subs. If you go all the way down.
Yeah, I see the rest of the DNN requirements, releases, and security. More resources. Man, where does this thing go? I'm saying it goes after probably providers. Included modules.
And this is part of phase 2 is making all this make a bit more sense. And there's a pending pull request right now that moves all this stuff again. So
interesting. Okay. Well, so what would we like to do? It's 8:13. It would not be the worst thing if we wanted to stop the recording and kind of continue from here, or
for the other things that you were wanting to do, the other
Yeah.
two things,
Yeah.
it's a subset of this. Instead of dealing with 2 files, you're dealing with how we're
Right.
editing a file
Right.
instead of creating a new one.
Right.
It's the same process.
Yeah.
I got an idea.
Yeah. What would you like to do? I'm willing to spend some time editing if you want to.
That's what I'm saying, Ryan. Why don't we start the next month's meeting? I mean, we can have a different subject and topic, but let's start it off with you having like already updated this to whatever you want it to be, and then we'll finish the process.
That's why you got that big brain over there. I like that.
You mean that big head?
That is a great idea, Clint. That's the most useful for people who are watching online, and the most useful for the amount of time we have here. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to spend a little bit of time working on this now, and then we'll kind of continue forward. But then, yeah, we'll begin next month's meeting with a little bit of a recap, talking about this. Good idea. I like it. Okay, so what did we not cover that's a gotcha or a surprise? You know, one of the things I asked about early was the idea that I have an idea of an approach, and I would begin going in and working on things to some extent Markdown, and restricting yourself to just Markdown versus mixing in HTML means that you're going to have some of the formatting styles be more homogeneous. However, everybody's going to do things just a little bit differently. Is there a style guide? Is there a reference example? Is there a guideline document? I feel like Will might have made one or referenced one.
So I created one.
Do you do?
Will updated it, but I created it initially. Like if you go to DNN Doc's homepage, and then go to the home, and then there's like a how to contribute, get involved over there on the right-hand column.
Why does that say Docs Preview?
Because it's not live yet. We're still moving stuff around. Don't want people to freak out.
I see. All right. So contribute to the docs?
Yeah. If you click on that, there should be a walkthrough. Now on the left side over there, expand that. Let's see what that says. Yeah, edit an article. So like if you wanted to walk through the whole process, you would edit an article. If you just want to work in the browser, you would go edit in the browser. And so this is all stuff to help you get up and running, regardless of the route you want to take.
This will be very helpful for your Markdown stuff, and this has some of this style guide stuff in it. It's like, if you use the Markdown that we've got, then it will style it accordingly. So you don't really have to worry about being inconsistent too much. It's more about the style of the documentation, right?
This exactly right here is what I was looking for. An idea of if I want to call out to something or a tip or to mark something as important, this is perfect because I have a structure that is already created and I'm not inventing it. Yep. Otherwise I might have made some exclamation points and a line and put something bold and then some more exclamation points and made it as text or ASCII kind of things. Yeah. I would have invented something because I like doing that when I'm working on content. This, even as simple as it is, gives me an idea of saying that these are, looks or presentation that I can have for the style or something. This is perfect. If I was going to spend some time in this, I might add into it just a little bit more. Here's an example of a table. Here's an example of, XYZ. So.
Well, do it. Nothing stopping you.
But okay. One thing at a time. Okay, so
move this doc right up there and get going.
I will commit to doing the table on this one right after. Okay, so next question. I had asked at one point about video and whether video was going to start coming into here. Is that still an idea? Is that a far off idea? What's the feeling about that and getting videos into tutorials?
So we are welcome. We're welcome to media-rich content. The only hesitancy I think that Kelly has is around the voice, right? Like the perspective from which the videos are created.
Right.
When we edit and review pull requests, which I never do, but when it happens, they're proofreading for grammar, but also voice, try to make sure it's consistent.
Yes. Yeah. So we, would have Don Gingold, the official smooth golden tone voice of DNN, do the voiceovers on all video, right? Is that the way we handle it?
No, not the voice as in like, does it sound good, but the voice as in.
No, I know.
Yeah.
The thing I was thinking of was being funny about the videos he's producing. You know, gorgeous production value, and he has that strong radio voice. If you were going to have voiceover to, video tutorial parts, that would be a beautiful addition to add in. But you're speaking of the voice as in, first off, is it developer focused, and what is it doing? Is it administrator focused? Is it exactly. Is it speaking to a very marketing type of presentation, or to some extent you have that in your content anyways? The content is being put into the document. You have that same kind of concern, but it's so much harder to review it and police it when it's in video.
Well, we hope that the documentations will morph into a single voice. It'll feel more cohesive that we adopted on this, right?
So how about making links and references to external content? Is that frowned upon because you want this to be self-contained as much as possible? If there is useful content that expounds upon something, linked to something external?
There's that there now. Yeah, there's quite a few references to external content.
And I mean, Ryan, you could probably appreciate, if we had Daniel Metler contribute an article, and then Sebastian contributed one, and then you, those are all different perspectives, right? And we got to try to work to make sure that there's consistency across all those content pieces.
Yeah. So to me, one of the things that I wanted to accomplish in today's session is one of the things that Mark Buselig mentioned in some of the comments in the chat here. And so as we kind of start to wrap up the meeting, I want to bring back the comments and questions and see for everybody else who's hanging out with us online if they have questions they want to add in. But I'll kind of address one of Mark's points or questions was that, when I saw you guys working in DNN Docs and started putting this together, I thought, I've wanted to do that before. I had seen the new version that was being produced a couple years back and thought, that's getting better, but there's still stuff missing. Wait, why is this not over there? I use this all the time, or I use this once a year. Or I look at the reading of the content and I think, this is written for developers. This is written for developers. I cannot send my client here because they're going to look at it and go, what? That doesn't make any sense. And I want to change the voice of this block of content to make it more the way I would present to clients and say, this is the 50,000-foot view, this is the detail view, and then this is the technical overview. And you dive into the level that you want and that's appropriate for you. So that kind of content change, I'm looking forward to getting into doing. And then it was, this is in the help system. And I was like, oh, okay. Oh, and it's GitHub. Oh, I'm out.
And a lot of people do that.
The thing is that my crew, my team, they work in GitHub more. I get around, I pull things, but I don't live in it. It's not what I live in. If anything, within my company, within my team, I'm a DNN integrator. I know how to put in all of the right modules and all the right things, and I know how to run IIS and set up the databases and troubleshoot these problems. I'm kind of like this mixture of all of these different things. I don't want to live inside of, gulp chocolates, gulp chocolate slurps with my yums. No, I don't want. I'm out. I back out. I let my team do that, and I manage. So when I saw that you released the edit in browser, I thought, that's it. That's for me. Because I understand the difference in Markdown. I don't work in it every day, but I've been in it before. I've had to take things that were HTML and turn it into Markdown. I understand. There are converters that can do that for me too, so I can play around with some things. And I thought, if I can edit it in my browser, then I could participate. I could edit some content. So here, creating a new page, that was a little bit of a bar of entry. But once that page is created, especially if I'm just editing something, and I know that I want to come into this, this specific page right here, and I want to improve this doc, yes, I realize I have a GitHub account. And as soon as I click this, it's going to link me over to my GitHub account where I'm already logged in. I get that. But my favorite part about this is I can edit it right here. I can come in here and I can say that I want to edit this in the project right there. I can start editing on my screen. To me, that lowers the bar back to me. I can get involved, and it makes the time involved different. I could look at something and go, oh, that's wrong. I need to put an extra paragraph into that to explain this one problem, blah, blah, blah. Click, edit, type, 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 type. Oh, I got a meeting in a minute. Submit, I'm gone. Great. I mean, pulling it down locally, I understand the benefits. I just know that I'm not going to do that, or at least I feel like I'm not going to do that right now.
Yeah.
This I can do.
It's a stepping stone.
This I can do.
Yeah.
So how about folks who are online? Any other questions about getting involved and doing these things? Any other suggestions? Daniel, any other beautiful tools that I should add in for that Markdown? Because that was beautiful. I'm going to read that one.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of Markdown, but I know there's a lot of plugins. You know, feel free to browse the. If you go to Visual Studio Code on the extensions and you search Markdown, you're going to see a ton of different things. And most of them, the documentation has some animated GIFs of what that extension does.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of
Visual Studio Code, Bill?
Oh, I was going to go back
Studio Code,
here.
Yeah.
No, just go to Visual Studio Code.
Right.
Yep. That one. Yep. Over on the left, you'll see the one that looks like a square. There, down at the bottom. There you go. And just do a search there on Markdown.
I mean, it's already giving me several with the recommendeds and things like that.
There's a ton of extensions out there.
Wow. So, yeah. So the one we just did was Markdown all-in-one.
So if you were to click one of those, left click on it.
Markdown Preview Enhanced.
There you go. Look at that one. A lot of them will have, the animations there to see it. This one doesn't have an animation, but it explains it. Go to Markdown. Probably not use that one, but
yeah, the ones that have a little star usually are a bit of recommended ones, and you should see also, maybe if you make the pane a little larger, you should see the number of downloads.
So you can close your preview.
I don't know why I don't see. Yeah, that's it. So you can see kind of what the popular ones are.
And some of them are marked as recommended. Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice stuff, and it's very quick to add or remove one. If you install one you don't like it, you just click on the uninstall, you try the next one. There's
Think of it like a browser
plugins. Yeah. Interesting.
Well, okay, folks. Like the animation you see on the bottom right here, convert tabular data to tables. That's
right there.
Nice if you copy paste from somewhere.
Yes.
Make it a Markdown table,
That would be very nice.
Yep.
Yeah, actually, that is pretty nice.
So you actually might be able to copy that entire.
I might copy that screen and try that first. It's worth a shot. There's some icons and some things that I want to get rid of, but it's a really good shot.
Clean up that.
Okay, everyone. Here we are. We're going to end on time. It's 8:30. Pretty good time. Let me swap back over to some of our information here of the fact that we're wrapping up our meeting tonight. Our next meeting is, what did I say, September the
32nd?
That's right. September the 19th is our next Southern Fried meeting. In that meeting, we will get together and talk community. We will talk at that point about the new MVPs because we should have that announcement out at that point. We will invite several of the new MVPs to come on and spend time with us and tell us a little bit about what they're doing. So it'll be a good time for us to maybe catch some of them if the time works out for them.
And hopefully we'll be able to talk about DNN 9.4.0.
I think so, yes. There are a couple of other things that I've seen that are kind of in the wings too, and we might be able to get some colored commentary coming in from some folks working on things. Thank you very much for spending the time here with us tonight. We appreciate everybody, and we will see you soon. And here today is Wednesday. We normally meet on Thursdays, so I was going to say, thinking tomorrow was Friday, but Friday we'll see you online if you are in the DNN Open Help Slack channel. We've been talking a little bit in the MVP group and in the Slack channel about how best to promote and suggest that people realize that in addition to the forums and things you can get online for help when you post questions, if you want help right now, or if you want to have a conversation with many times DNN MVPs and integrators and people who live and breathe DNN every day, you'll find them hanging out in that Slack workspace, and that is DNN Open Help. I'll see you there on Friday if I don't see you in our next meeting. Thanks very much, everybody. Good night.